School District Bond 4 Committee. Thank you.
For committee?
4 Committee, yeah.
Everyone.
Yep. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are live.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, how are you, Rachel?
Fine, thank you.
Doing okay?
Busy. Busy. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I'm still around.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I guess we're all around. I guess that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Say hello to our attorney. Is Mary with us today? I don't know, I haven't got any notifications. Has anybody got any notifications? No.
What's that?
Anything from Mary by any chance?
No.
I haven't even seen her in town.
She might have, I haven't looked at my phone, I should have checked it. Last time she did. The smoke's killing me. Yeah. Yesterday I couldn't even talk.
It's getting old.
It is.
Oh, here she is.
Nice to see you.
You must have heard her talking.
Are your ears burning?
Welcome coming back, Mary. I'll come by, your chair's waiting for you.
Sylvia, do we have the Kleenex back there? Can you check this thing here?
How are you?
Oh, we have some right here. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Can I take it? Good evening. We're going to go ahead and call this city council study session agenda for Tuesday, September 13th, 2022 to order at 6 p.m. We're going to go ahead and go on to number 2, old business.
Oh, no,
We're going to go ahead and amend the agenda. I'm sorry. And we're going to go ahead and go to A. We're going to go ahead and have Mr. Castilla as a resident. He's Stan.
And so the title of what my,
The title is Mapleton School District Bond for Committee,
so that's gonna be A, and then
the A.
B, A would be B,
Okay,
and then B would be C,
okay,
okay? Thank you.
go ahead. So we're gonna start.
Ready to go? Good. Thank you all
Yes.
for having.
Good evening, Bill.
Hi, guys.
Good evening.
Oh, so the old business.
Okay, let's do
Okay,
the old business.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yep.
So, discussion of cemetery ordinance, the fence from page 12 to 18. So, anybody have any questions on that? This is from the last meeting, the discussion on that.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I can hear them out there lost.
Were we gonna discuss about the crosses? Does that have anything to do with that or the crosses?
Yes, that would be included, be the crosses, the fences, I believe rose bushes, what else did we kind of talk about? The rocks,
And the minutes are kind of a
Yeah.
student there, so.
and I believe glass vases. I guess just input of what you all think. I know,
The attorney.
Bill, if you can help
Yes.
me out.
Where do you want to start? What's the question specifically you want addressed?
On the discussion of the cemetery ordinance, the fence.
Uh-huh. It,
Regarding the cemetery.
yeah, nothing, it doesn't specifically forbid fences, so I think there's a problem with, saying that no fences can be there under this, the wording of this ordinance. 160A says no boxes, shelves, pinwheels, chairs, settees, glass options, objects of any kind, wood ornaments, or similar objects may be placed on a lot gravesite. If a court's interpreting an ordinance or a statute, it would say that if there's a list of things, and then there's a general reference to say, or anything generally like that, that it has to be pretty similar in kind. One question would be, why did the city council that enacted this did not specify fences or other things? Most of these items in 160A seem to be small things that aren't attached, and that they're smaller items. I don't know what the size of the fence is that's an issue, or if there's more than one fence.
I want to say they are like, the little wired fences are the foot, high fences like that you buy at the Dollar Tree. That
Uh-huh.
would be like plastic ones or the wired ones. And not only are they just fencing the headstone portion, they're fencing along the whole 6 feet, or how many feet is it that they're doing the coffin? 6 to 8 feet. They're outlining the whole area with the fence. And I will say, I don't have an issue if it's a week, but 1, 2, 3 months, 6 months, I think that's become an issue, especially during the summer months, just because it holds up the maintenance on our cemeteries.
Are there fences other than the 1 foot high ones that you would buy at the gardening store?
Right now, that to my knowledge, no. And I was out there last week, and I think they're just foot fences that are around that just kind of how would you say it?
The plot itself.
Yeah, the plot itself, you know. They just outline the plot. So it's from headstone or marker to the foot. So of the marker, the casket marker.
And then what specifically is the maintenance having a problem with?
Just because when they're going to mow the lawn, they have to mow around it or weed whack around it. And it just takes more time. It's time consuming. Instead of just driving the lawnmower all the way across, they have to get off and drive around it or bring out push more and make sure that they don't hit that, because then we will have citizens coming in to complain that the fence has been knocked down, or it's been hit, or it's been bent, or it's been broken. So that's one of the things that's been brought to our attention.
About how many fences are there at?
I want to say right now, well, let's see, the last time we were out, I believe there were like 6, maybe a little bit more. And I mean, they go up all the time, they come down. So we haven't taken any down, but I think if the residents have gone out or the families have gone out, maybe they've exchanged them or added, they see that one has it, so they go out and they put one up themselves, so it's just kind of that kind of thing that's going on.
Well,
So that's the fence that we're talking about.
right. I guess it's still an issue of, is it similar to a box or a shell or a pinwheel? It arguably is, but it's also arguably not. So the ordinance should probably be amended. You may choose to make rules or a policy that says it includes fences, but in the meantime, you should probably amend it to, I don't think a rose bush is similar to a box or a shell.
So we know that, and I know from one of the council members, and she has spoke on this before about the rose bush being taken down. And I do just want to kind of bring to light that we did have some removed, I believe within the last week and a half, because there was some rose bushes that were just totally out of control. And they did bring it to our attention with the picture. And, excuse me, so that one was asked to be trimmed down just because it was all over the place. It was growing up, to the left, to the right, and backwards and forward.
And Mayor, that's addressed on 2.44.170, page 17.
So on page 17, 2.44.170, it does say on there, planting of trees, plants, and et cetera.
Okay, well, I didn't know that those were included in what we were discussing, so I didn't look at 170, but let me quickly go to that.
Okay. On 17.
Oh, it's in the packet? Oh,
Yes, it is. It's on the packet.
oh, okay. All right. Well, obviously the city has the power to prevent, to not approve a tree, flower, shrub, etc., unless approved by the city council. So you'd have to make sure it's evenly applied, but I guess there's no problem with rose bushes then.
Well, there is, because it's been brought to our attention from other citizens that come out to see their loved ones. And, they're wanting to know why they're not able to plant a rose bush if there's other people that have them. So it's become an issue, and this is like a weekly thing now from the same family from out of town. And I told them we would look into it. We'd go over the ordinance and make sure that everything's in place. Just because, they want to be able to plant one. So we've kind of been brainstorming, me and Public Works, and I brought it up to the admin as well about us doing a certain area where we can plant rose bushes, and we could put a plaque with the name of the loved one in front of the bush. So that way all the rose bushes are in the same area rather than getting out of hand in the cemetery, which I think that would be a better idea, nicer idea. And we can start a certain area, which would be the entrance ways of the cemetery.
Can I make a comment, please?
Yes, of course.
I have had my son's plot out there for 20 years. At the time I planted the rose bushes that are now growing back up because they have been pulled out, I had permission from the mayor at that time. I read in here and have been told, no, it wasn't written in writing, but it was a verbal. He told me I could do it. It was, well, almost 20, it'll be 20 years in November. I just feel that it's not right that it wasn't right the first time they pulled them out. And I could pull them out again this time because that property I purchased, Bill, that property is my property because that property is a plot property. We trim ours, we weed ours, we put whatever around it to make it more attractive. And it does have a semi-fence in the front, a white one to hold them back. And I'm totally against having mine. I don't know if anybody else, I think they should be grandfathered in. That's my honest opinion. They've been in there that long. But that's just my opinion as a citizen.
And also, so I just want to add, Bill, that the people that have been coming in, their loved one has been gone for quite some time, is my understanding, over 25 years, if I'm correct.
Uh-huh.
And so that's the issue that they're having.
But they didn't decorate 20 years ago. I've had that.
No, they've had theirs for 20, their loved ones have
I
been gone for
understand
25.
that, but the stuff around my son's plot has been there for 20 years. Not him too, but.
No, but that's what I'm saying, Vera, that they say that their loved one's been gone longer.
Well, they should have done it way back then.
No, I know.
Okay.
So that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
So, and I do just want to put on the record that now we do have packets going out when they come in, and it has all of the ordinances. So, you know, this doesn't just surprise somebody that, oh, well, we're making it up, or we're making these up. No, these are already set in place. So just to help them kind of know what is to be expected. You know, a lot of these, you know, headstones and stuff, they do not stay maintained. Garbage doesn't get picked up. We have flowers from December, poinsettias out there. We have Easter stuff out there still. We have things from last year from Thanksgiving, you know. So these things are not getting picked up like they should be. And we did not remove any up until, I want to say early spring, when we went out there to do the spring cleanup and plant flowers. I did let myself and Sylvia, and I believe Councilwoman Diana, I don't remember, she was there to help us clean up the graves, but we did pull Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, St. Patrick's Day. So this was all stuff from last year that we were having to pull up, and we did get 3 big garbage bags out there, or more, I want to say. You know, so no, they're not being kept up. Rose bushes aren't being cleaned. Nothing's being cleaned around headstones that have fences, you know. So we really need to maintain it and enforce it.
This says, unless said planning is approved after written request to the city council, if they're not going to be allowed any longer at all, then it doesn't make sense to have an ordinance that implies it may be approved if requested. If no requests are going to be granted. The other thing is, it says to the city council, which is a little odd because it's more of an administrative decision. And this says the city council, you have to go by what the ordinance says. If the city council says yes to a written request, it would have to be granted. If they say no to a written request, it would have to be granted. So to me, it seems like it'd be more of an administrative matter, that you'd have some rules and say, here's when we allow it, here's when we don't. If we do allow it, then it has to be a limited size. It can't extend beyond the borders of your plot, et cetera. But right now it implies that you're entitled to ask for one, and a decision would be made based on some standards. There's no standards here as to when they would be allowed or not. If they're going to be completely outlawed, there would have to be a new ordinance. And if you want to have the new area, then fine. But this is not what this says currently. It says it implies that a written request will have a decision made by the city council upon it, if made, and there would have to be some standards to go by. But in any event, it seems like it has some reasonable rules that don't have to be within the ordinance, such as saying, on the other things you've mentioned, decorations and stuff under 150 removal, is already allowed. So the city can already remove flowers, balloons, flags, any other object placed on a lot gravesite on every second and fourth Thursday of each month. But I think people with existing rose bushes may arguably be grandfathered in. It was if it was approved by, this says the city council. I don't see the year that this was enacted, as far as people saying the mayor gave me permission. That's maybe what an older statute said. I don't have the year of this right in front of me when this was enacted, but
This was in 2014, so this would have been Mario. Yes, it would have been Mario. But I think what we really need to do is come up with an ordinance or something that no verbal by any mayor should be allowed. Everything should be done in paper, to be honest, just for the sake of something like this should happen again, whether it be cemetery or business, we're letting, a business do something different, a new one comes in, I think we need to have everything on documentation, and have it in writing.
no doubt about that. So as far as
this can go on, not maybe, but with other council members as well, well, I could be not here in 4 years, and, Councilwoman Mary could say, well, the last mayor, I had a verbal conversation and she okayed it. Well, that was a conversation that was, held, but nobody else heard it, or it was, just everything was verbal. There's nothing to fall back on, to look back on.
So if somebody else heard it and I have a witness, that would make it more.
Well, no, I think it needs to be in paper.
Well, yes, now, but I'm talking about mine, not anybody else.
Yeah, no, I think
Okay.
everything needs to be documented. So I don't know, how do you all feel?
To be documented.
What's that?
It needs to be documented on paper.
It could be on paper, write down in document.
And just to say, Bill, if this happens to my son's plot again, I'm going to take action, because that's my plot. I paid for it. I paid quite a bit of money for his headstone. It's not on city property. We went through this the last time they did it. I measured it. I got measurements with what belonged to the city and what belonged to us. So I'm just letting you know, I'm not gonna have it done to me again. That was devastating.
Okay, I just want you to know as well, Bill, a lot of these plots are not being kept up. They're not being cleaned. And I will put it on the record. Hers is one of them that's not kept up all
As
year
of the
round.
moment right now, but most of the time it is. And Rachel, you can't say that. You guys have been out there and you've been, he's right by Rudy.
I
I know
know.
it has weeds right now, but I have had
Well,
some
I know,
issues.
that's why I'm saying they're not being kept up, Vera. Not just yours, there's plenty out there
You guys just
that they need to be.
I have opinion, can I say something about
Yes.
it? Okay, how about if there's more convenience, for the people that have stones in the cemetery,
So they can plant the shrubs or the bushes in a pot, like in cement pot. And then cement pot can be removable. They can put them in top of the crepe or whatever. And then when they cut the lawn, they can put it back again, or they can remove one side to the other side. So they don't have to remove the whole bush or take it off the bush.
Yeah, well, that's why we came up with the idea as well of doing the roses in a certain area and then putting a marker down in front of everyone. So let's see, we'll have Rudy's, we would have Dustin, we would have Renee, we would have Loopy, we would have Phyllis, all lined up with all their rose bushes, but yet you'd still have all their names in a certain area, you know, and they could start from where Rudy's is at all the way down to Loopy's, and everyone has their rose bush all lined up with their name plaque.
And I wouldn't mind that if he had just passed away. But we're talking 20 years of what I've had. So I still do.
Yeah, I need to say something too. I think, we should grandfather those people in that already have plants and stuff like that in there, but they need to fix it, trim it, whatever, make it look more decent. And then the mayor is saying that the stones are not looking good. One of them, city workers are not even blowing them. I have to go out there and clean my mom and dad's with water.
I do too. And the grass that they leave back.
Because they leave everything right in there. There's no reason for that. They should have a blower.
They do have blowers.
And why ain't they using it?
Well, this is the first time I'm hearing it. Nobody's brought it to my attention.
Well, if you walked out there, like you say, you go to the cemetery, you should be able to see it.
Well, no, we go through, I drive through, I don't get off. We just drive through when they're out there. I don't get off because the times that we have driven out there, there's people out there. So I do not approach Public Works in front of public out of respect until they come in and I ask them, how's it going out there? And they fill me in on what is going on.
And so, and they use the blower, Mayor, there's a lot of little ornaments too,
Yeah.
and that would just blow away.
No, they don't put any, they don't blow it.
No, but I'm just, oh, they don't.
No, they
No.
don't.
My full of it like this.
The grass is there all the time.
Okay, so I will bring that up to our lead tomorrow. And that was, one of the other things we had talked about, so yeah, my mind is, about, contracting for the cemetery. Because it's a lot of work. They are out there 2 days. And I'm like on them, hey, we gotta try to do a day and a half. There's no way they can do it in a day and a half.
I think we need more
How
employees.
many people they work around?
There's 3 mowers going on out there. Yeah, there's 3 mowers going on out there.
They
So-
probably can't finish because there's too much things on the cemetery.
Well, that's what they
There
brought
is
to
a
our
lot of
attention.
stuff, I can tell you that right now, it's hard for them.
Well, I understand that, like, there's some when you first enter that have like a big old fence of the whole body of the coffin.
You have the 8 foot,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So
I
those-
understand that part, that shouldn't be happening.
Mhm. So those are the things that, they tell us. So I do have all 3 mowers going out there. They start Thursday and they're finishing at 3:30, 4 o'clock on Friday. And they're weed whacking as well.
I've seen them. and
So,
know
I don't
there's
know
problems.
if they are, blowing, but I am gonna bring it to their attention tomorrow. And I will, go out there. So, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and move on. And go on to new business, which is Mr. Casquera, who is here as a resident.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You can go ahead and step up to the podium.
Oh, there we go. I'm gonna ask my friends to help me. You guys can hold these up. Give each of you one of these, yeah.
Thank you.
Jeez.
Should we stand you as a camera or?
You can, that way. Thank you.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Thank you.
Why don't you guys go over there, because I'm gonna be behind you.
Look at the camera. Oh.
Very good, all right. Thank you all for hearing me today. Most of you know me as the superintendent of the school district, but today I'm just Joey Castillo visiting. So And the reason for that is I'm, off work hours, and right now I'm actually kind of talking about the bond and hopefully conjuring up some support for this. So what I gave you guys, since you're government officials, you'll appreciate these because you've all run for office before. This is our explanatory statement that will be in the voter pamphlet around the bond that we are going for right now. It'll be on the November 8th ballot. So ballots will hit 18 days before that, and we'll be out campaigning. Don't know how much you've been following. The board this last year did a study and survey of all of our properties and whatnot, and really got to the conclusion that they wanted to get really retire the portable classrooms. So right now we have, they look like trailer houses kind of thing. We have the portable classrooms that weren't ever supposed to be permanent. So they're going on over 20 years now. It was around 2000, 2001, I think, that those were put in. And they mostly house our 7th and 8th grade students, which is a pretty important couple years of education if you remember being in middle school. So over the time, the board and myself, we spent some time really thinking about all of our options, and we boiled it down to really 2 viable options. And one of which we were pretty sad to kind of let go, was we considered the old high school as an option. And then we also considered the idea of a new addition. And for a while there, I thought we were going to probably be at the old high school, but when we really did the feasibility of that project, it just wasn't really going to work out as a school in today's age. It was going to give us some classrooms, but we wouldn't have been able to have a full kitchen, library, and with the bond capacity and whatnot, not a gym and things like that. So we would still have kids having to travel back and forth between, and it also would increase the cost of doing business because now we would have another building to maintain and staff. So with a lot of thought and consideration, the board did decide to pursue a new addition. So what you see here in front of us is just kind of some artistic rendering. Now the styles might be a little bit different by the time we actually get through all of the work with the architects, but this gives you the concept. If you can imagine across the front where the bell currently sits and the main entrance, right across the gym, there would be a 2-story addition there that would be between 8 and 10 classrooms. And it would kind of really come all the way out to about where the parking lot starts. And that would be the new part. If you can also imagine here where you see Principal Esteban, Florian holding, that's the old commons now, and you can see it's kind of been opened up and made into more of a common space for kids to actually hang out and live, be and study and socialize and have lunch. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is the high school currently does not have a full kitchen. Our kitchen is a partial kitchen, so our food actually has to be trucked, depending on what we're making, from Arts Fox over to the high school. So what that ends up happening, that's just kind of a hard thing to do because of temperature holding and whatnot. And I kind of feel like that it hinders us from having a real quality lunch program as well. So that's part of the motivation here. So if you can imagine the school commons area right now, the kitchen would be moved to about where the current office sits now. And it would be a full kitchen, and then the office would be in the yard in front of where the office is now. And that would be built off that way. So it's more of a wing kind of thing. So we were able to keep junior high in the junior high wing, but still have the economies of scale and sharing administration and office staff and kitchen, things of that nature. So the other thing that I think was a big factor in why we went this route is, what our schools were built many, many years ago, and just the realities of today, worrying about security, about the active shooters around the country and things like that. We want to be able to control our space the best we can. And so one of the things that this allows us to do is to revamp how you enter the building during the school day and how visitors enter the office first and things like that. So it's will benefit more kids if we go this route. 7th through 12th grade. The other thing that's kind of nice about it is we're about another decade out before we'll be eligible for state SCAP, which is a matching funds from the state. And what this would really do is kind of tee us up for another decade. We'd have the new portion, but then we would break into the rest of the building in another 10 years. So it's more of a comprehensive plan for the current property. So I give you guys, again, because you're elected officials, you'll understand this language here. Everyone wants to know what's the bottom line. Okay, so currently, right now, we have a capital levy that was about a 6-year levy, and that was approved quite a while ago. And that levy funded the 3 classroom addition at Arts Fox. It funded HVAC upgrades at Arts Fox, and it will also fund some upgrades to the Boc Ag building right across the street. So that's a project that's yet to come. That levy will end at the end of this year. So it expires in December. So this bond would pick up from there. We estimate that the new bond is approximately 93 cents per 100,000 or per 1,000 more than the previous capital levy. So what that equates to, if you have a $200,000 home, it works out to about $15.50 per month increase in tax. So not a huge increase. That puts us at about $2.61 per 1,000 assessed, which is still one of the lowest that you'll find in the valley when you look at us comparatively. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the plan. It's a $12.8 million bond. It's a 25-year bond. What's different about this, I also like to share, is that our last capital project tax that we authorized was a capital levy, and which is a little bit different than a bond. In the case of a capital levy, the voters approve to impose the tax, and then we collect the tax and save it up. And then when there's enough money in the account, we do the project. In this case, it's kind of the opposite of that. It's more like getting a loan. Once we approve the levy or the bond, bonds are for building, they say, that authorizes the district to go out to the bond market and basically get a construction loan to get this going. So the idea would be, if this passes, we would try and break ground as soon as possible, probably late spring. And it would probably be about a year-long process to build out. So it'll benefit kids much sooner. We don't have to wait for it. Plugs the safety concerns up, gets them in brick and mortar buildings, kind of gives us a little bit of a shot in the arm with our projects, so our facilities. So, do you have any questions for me? Yeah.
When you say kitchen, is this kitchen going to be used to cook there, or is it going to be the same way as they're just taking? We're
going to cook. We're going to cook here. Yep. Part of my motivation and one of my goals this year heading into next year is to greatly improve our lunch and breakfast program. We're looking at new ways of co-oping with the way we buy food. One of the things that you may not have followed, but in the last few years, there was some new legislation at the federal level that really put some guidelines on what you can serve kids as far as calories and things like that. What that did was it made it really hard to cook from scratch because you can't calculate, the calories and things as easily. So the trend in schools has been things come in frozen and it gets baked and, served like that. When I was a kid, we had cheese zombies, and that's a hard thing to serve nowadays. With the co-op and a full kitchen, we're actually working with companies that have worked out the recipes that can help us get back to some scratch cooking again, have real quality, restaurant style food.
Why couldn't we go back to the school lunches that we had when we were?
That's what I want to do.
We didn't have this weight thing with the kids, busy.
Right.
When I was in school, we didn't have that at all.
Yeah.
I noticed they do with all this.
That's the dream. That's the goal, is to get back to some of that. And we've got a great kitchen staff and a great head cook and whatnot. We just need to get some better tools in place. So having a full kitchen is going to be one of those steps. Yeah.
Question. Now, Would you have a kitchen staff at elementary and then a kitchen staff here at the high school?
Yes, and we currently do.
Okay, even though you transport food, you
Yeah.
have two different crews?
Yeah, well, because you have a crew that serves over here, and some of it does get cooked over here.
Okay.
But, like Pozole is one of our most popular days. The big boiler for that is at Arts Fox, and we have to get it here, so.
What day is that?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things too I want to get to is just kind of having a culture of a way for families to come have lunch with
Well,
us.
we wanted to go have lunch the other day,
Yeah.
that's why.
Anytime you just let me know, we'll go do it. So, yeah, so, but, it's just, school is important. We know we read and write and learn and prepare for the future, but it is also the social aspect. It's being somewhere that you're comfortable, that you're proud to be, and it's time to kind of spruce things up. We want it to sparkle a little bit more.
Looks nice.
I have another question.
Yes.
The architect that you got, is he from here or where is he from? And did you get another bid
Right.
on another one?
So the architects that we use is called ALSC, and they've been with the district for years. I just sort of inherited them when they came along. So they're out of Spokane actually, but they've been designing our buildings and systems for years and years. Matter of fact, one of the projects we're working on, it has nothing to do with this, but this summer we'll be putting in lights for the football field. And when we went back to get that plan designed, it happened to be the guy who originally did the mechanical for that, so, and electrical. So ALSC is the one that helps us do that. We do go out to bid when it comes time to build and all that good stuff. So we try and get make our dollar go as far as we can. So,
Mr. Garcia,
yes,
I have a question. So this is gonna be on the ballot in November?
yes.
Are you gonna campaign and
Yep. So this
talk
is
to people around here?
This is kind of our first kickoff. You guys are really the first to see me in the public talking about this. We filed it in August, and I got my voter data just this week. So now we're getting ready to hit the road on that. So we'll be doing a 4-committee meeting here pretty soon to get social media, door knocking, all
Are
that
you
stuff
gonna be
going.
doing any radio ads, TV ads?
So,
I
I don't know if we'll do radio or TV or not yet. When we meet, we'll see what we have a budget for. But definitely video, social media video, door knocking, hand shaking, things like
I
that.
think the Univision in the Hispanic local channel would be something really good.
That would probably be very easy to get into.
Just
Yeah.
from experience, the community is a lot of Hispanic people that don't know English, and they are the taxpayers here. So I think really trying to
Yep.
get to them would be,
Yeah, and they keep
know.
getting the case. Well, put Mr. Florian on the radio, maybe he can go talk.
yeah, Radio Cadena.
Actually, the other day I was meeting with a parent, and the sister of the parent actually works for Radio Cadena. And these posters were at my office, and she asked me, and so I explained what's the project about, and she goes, I'm going to invite you as a host to my radio. And I said, thank you, sure, that would be great.
Yeah.
So I do have that invitation.
You're
so-
famous.
It's free, it's airtime, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that we'll have, I'm getting really good responses from, the movers and shakers out there, so. It's fun to talk about, it's fun to dream about, the board's very excited, they put a lot of time and heart and thought into how they do it, so. Yep, you drive around the valley and everyone's living in new schools right now, and,
Every town has new school.
oh man, some of these schools look
Been a
like
whole-
they
I
call
think
it.
it's time, right?
Yep.
More than 50
I
years.
went,
Yep.
yes,
It's time.
Yep,
it's
it's
time.
time.
I
I pay a
went-
lot of tax money.
So she says time's up, so because I'm not in the capacity as superintendent today, I'm just a citizen walking on the street. I'd humbly ask for your support and to remind you to vote on November 8th. So thank you guys very much. And let me know if you have questions. I'm always over there.
Okay, thank you.
You guys want to exit? I'll let you guys go.
So we're gonna go ahead and go on to B, discussion of crime-free rental housing and inspection program, which is on page 19 to 22. Thank you, you all have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
For your time.
how are you?
So, I had the girls look into this, because this was brought to me by a citizen, for financial rate and housing and inspection program. So, I think Councilwoman Mary, I think you kind of know a little bit about this program, if I'm correct?
Yeah.
Can you kind of fill us in on it a little bit?
I thought we were already in this program.
It was introduced
Yeah,
to us
it was introduced to the council.
from a Sunnyside gentleman, but I'm not sure where it went from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's not an ordinance.
No.
Yeah.
He just
So
told
none
me
of the
to-
apartments here have
Hmm.
this?
No, there is an apartment complex, you guys, correct?
But if there's an ordinance in place, she wants to know.
No, it's just an agreement with them.
Yeah, that's all it was,
Right.
was agreement.
So we need to, bring it and have an ordinance. So I don't think Diana and Antonio know what it is. Vera and Tootie do, so, and Mary is pretty familiar with it, so do you want to fill them in, Bill? Do you want to fill them in? Somebody want to kind of elaborate on what it is? Or, yeah, Chief?
I'm sorry, I was reading.
Do you know what this
I think
is?
it's more or less when they go in to rent the facility or the house or the apartment or whatever, the contract reads, I think they can only have the police called to their property
3 times.
and then that's it.
That's it.
They
That's
only
what I
they only get
understood
caught
from-
3 times and then, they get evicted.
Yeah, that's what I understood.
So and I think we were also filled in, like, if there is a home that has a certain amount of people and the same person has gotten in trouble like 3 times at that same house, that person's already become a tenant at that home. So then what happens to the homeowner?
Oh,
The homeowner starts to get their home closed because it's become a nuisance. So those are the things that we kind of want to start enforcing here,
Can I mention something? Is it like, I'm just gonna put an example, you guys. If it's me and I have my boyfriend living with me and I'm renting and my boyfriend causes a fight, that's one. So does that mean I could lose my apartment because of him? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. And a home.
But sometimes you can lose your apartment on the first time that the police officer shows up at your house.
depending on
It
the,
depends what happens
on the
and what's
situation,
happening
yeah.
and what situation it was. It doesn't have to be 3 times. It could be once, twice.
Okay. Yeah. So could I say if there's an assault and that boyfriend comes back, then we need to let the house owner know that this boyfriend is back after there's been an assault there?
Well, the officer has to
There's an
come out.
assault, there would be a restraining order and he wouldn't be able to be on the property for it.
But they do,
That's what I'm asking.
I think, yeah, she was just
And then
saying,
if we
if
see
we happen
him,
to see him, because they
it's
do show up.
easier for us to call the cops and tell
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
so-and-so's here.
So that's something that we need to enforce, and we need to have it as an ordinance. That way it will help our officers being called out, at the same DV that's taken away from other things that, they could be focusing on, or other things at other homes, So,
Can I add to that real quick?
Mhm.
The only issue I see is if a victim calls in and they're totally a victim, they get assaulted without starting the fight or whatever. And then once other tenants hear that they're getting kicked out because they're a victim, they didn't even have anything to do with it, they just happen to be a victim, then it's going to deter everybody else from calling us. And so that's the only issue with the victim getting kicked out when it wasn't even their fault. I can see the suspect, whoever the offender is, yeah, they shouldn't be allowed to go back there. But I know per state law that we are supposed to let the rental folks know that, hey, there was a issue here. So I know the sergeant and I, we try to reach out to whoever the renter is, the property owner. And hey, there was an issue there. We try to give them a case number so they can voluntarily come down and get a police report. Yeah, the issue I see is if the victims are also getting kicked out of housing, then in the future, nobody's gonna call us. And then you're gonna have more victims that aren't gonna come forward because they don't wanna lose their housing. So that's the only issue I would see with that part of it,
But
on the victim side of it.
Chief,
Yeah.
that's not always true. I've been through this for 15, 16 years, and it's not always true. I have good communication with police officers, and they usually call me. I could be asleep at 1,
Oh, she was a landlord.
and
Yeah,
they would
right,
tell me, we're heading over there, so-and-so apartment. Can you meet me? I go, let me just get my robe. And I would get my robe, run downstairs, and I was outside with them. They would give me a case number.
No, what I'm saying is if word gets out that, hey, if you're a victim, you call police, you're gonna lose your housing, so.
You're gonna lose your housing,
Right,
but it's gonna get cleaned up.
right, I understand. I'm just saying it will keep victims from calling in the future is all
You'll
I'm
get the
saying.
victims to stop, but your neighbors won't. Your neighbors will continue calling.
Right. But
until
then the
we
problem
get
is when
them
somebody gets beat up, they're not gonna call us because they don't wanna get kicked out. And then I hate seeing victims out there that aren't getting our help because it's important to find out who the victim is.
And I understand that, but I think right now they're just reoccurring, and we need to put a stop to it.
Right,
Because they know that they shouldn't even be there, but the victim's allowing them to come back in. So, okay, you're
Yeah,
just as much
it's-
guilty as he is
right.
because,
In some cases, that is happening, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
when it first happens, never happened before, first time, and then I'm just saying that
Yeah.
it could deter people from wanting to call in.
Maybe those.
And that could
ones,
happen.
Give them one more chance.
Right.
After the first one and they're not involved.
but I
in
think it's
something.
up to the landlord.
That
Oh,
could
I see.
happen, but the thing is, there's some landlords that would not call you guys. They could be the neighbors and they just take it all. Why? Because it's too much paperwork for us. It's just a mess. And then there's an argument. By the time you know it, the landlord's car's A, the landlord's car's wheels are slashed, and all sorts of things happen to us.
Right, I'm all for when it's a reoccurring issue at a certain apartment, that, yeah, hopefully they do something and clean that up. I'm all for that part. That was my only concern was the victim part of it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Just see discussion of the approval of the budget calendar for 2022 on page 23. So here's our dates. Josh, you want to add anything to this, please?
So it's fairly straightforward there. So yesterday was our call to budget. So, today is the day that we show it to everyone. The only thing we really need to have a discussion on before we can approve it is I just want to make sure that October 15th works for everyone. I really hope it does because October is really full for me this year. Trying to get married in October, as everyone probably already knows, but so that's kind of the only Saturday I have available. And then
We can just have our retreat at your wedding. Oh my
I
God.
right, we could just have our retreat there in the morning. So, but that's really the only piece of the discussion. And then, of course, on the other thing that would piggyback on that, if we want to talk about it tonight, is where we're going to have it and some suggestions. So.
At a time.
What time would that be?
So that's, I'll say that. So that's what we need to talk about. And do we want to do it in the morning? Do we want to do it in the afternoon? I would say probably start 9 or 10 o'clock.
If we're gonna do morning, let's do
So
morning,
8.
8.
8, okay.
8 o'clock.
I won't be here.
Oh,
Where are you gonna be?
I'm-
Getting married?
Nope, I
chasing the deer.
go deer hunting,
Okay.
opening that day.
Okay.
But also, if it's gonna start at 8, Josh, are you guys doing it in-house or away from the
Right.
chamber?
That's the other piece of the question. So.
How long does this last? How long does?
So usually they last about, so we schedule 4 hours for it. I would say probably about 3.
So lunch and
11 or
brunch.
Brunch, exactly.
So should we do it here or,
And you guys don't have to make that decision today.
okay,
Right.
we can,
We can talk about it for a time, but that's that's really the only thing. Everything else, on that calendar is more or less the same council meeting from every year from 100 years from before and 100 years from now, probably. So, I'm gonna say November 8th is of course the first council meeting in November. November 22nd is the second council meeting in November. December 13th is hopefully is up, if all goes well, the only council meeting we'll have in December. So as long as everything's squared away, we should be able to cancel the second meeting in December like we usually do.
okay, so at least we know on time, or do we agree to 8 o'clock in the morning? So that way when we come back to talk about it again, we know 8 will be the thing and then we'll determine what we're gonna have or where we're gonna go.
Okay.
I agree to 8 o'clock. Ready to all of it.
Antonio?
Yeah. Yeah.
Vera?
Yeah.
And we'll,
Okay with that?
Tuesday's gonna be deer hunting.
So,
Every year?
so
Okay.
Tootie better get his deer by 8 then.
Yeah, I gotta connect.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and, move on.
Okay, yep, and I'll start looking for some places so that we have a couple options when we go to the next meeting. Okay,
And then, we don't have executive session. So with that, we go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 6:52.